Back. With me now is Porsche Page. Porsche, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you are here with us today to talk about your career, your lifestyle, education, and anything else that you can impart on our youth to talk about the realm of engineering. But you in particular are at a point in your career where you are a senior engineer. Can you tell us a little bit about your job, your title, and what that means?
Absolutely. Well, my title is a management engineer, and I work for Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I am an industrial engineer by trade, and I also have a master's in business administration degree. And so what that does is couple two different backgrounds together. You're partially an engineer and partially a business consultant. And so I consult managers and healthcare professionals in different areas of the healthcare organization, such as processes, staffing and analysis, as well as performance excellence.
Wow. So you've taken a balance of engineering, a very technical, very scientific type education and experience, and combined it with senior leadership management role. I'm impressed. I didn't even know that there was a management engineer, but that's absolutely impressive, especially in an industry like healthcare, right? You're working with young children at Gillette, and their lives depend on your process and procedures that go into that, correct?
Absolutely. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we provide safe and quality health care to our patients.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's if not world renowned, it's a nationally renowned hospital. So let's move on to maybe how did you get to that particular job? I mean, can you share a little bit when you were young? I mean, did you always want to go into all this senior leadership and engineering degree, or what were you thinking when you were in 9th, 10th grade?
Well, by the 8th grade, 9th grade, I thought I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh,
And
a beautiful job.
members of my community from NSBE Junior and the NSBE Alumni Chapter invited high school students out to their Saturday activities and programming. And that started to influence my decision as to how I wanted to utilize my math and science skills. So at first I thought I wanted to utilize math and science and become a teacher, but then I found out that I could use those same skills and become an engineer.
Wow, that is incredible. And that is a great career trajectory to have too. I mean, I'm sure that you had a lot of experiences. Have you traveled a lot? Maybe done anything in particular in your career that you'd like to highlight?
Absolutely. So when I was a student at Georgia Tech in the Industrial and Systems Engineering program, I had the opportunity to study abroad at the National University of Singapore, as well as Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, all within 6 weeks.
So you've literally seen almost the world.
Pretty much. We were 13 hours ahead.
13 hours ahead. Yeah, talk about jet lag, right?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned NSBE, which is the National Society for Black Engineers. Tell me a little bit about either your experience with it, what has happened locally, and then maybe how your family has benefited from it.
Absolutely. So within my alumni chapter, that was in Austin, Texas, they decided to start a NSBE Junior chapter at my high school. And I was probably one of 3 to 5 students who was interested, and I became the president of the NSBE Junior High School program. And so that really exposed me at a young age to the National Society of Black Engineers national program.
Gotcha.
And with that exposure, I was led to internships. And so I started in corporate America at 17 years old, working for Motorola as an intern. And I was interested in electrical engineering initially. And then I somewhat found my way to industrial engineering.
Fantastic. And the shift in that is pretty incredible, that you've gone and was able to be very flexible and adaptive to those particular opportunities that came along. So it sounds like you didn't have one particular linear or straight line to where you wanted to be. You actually used the opportunities that were presented to you at that particular time to shift and adapt in using your previous experiences.
Absolutely, and I went on to do another 4 additional summers at Motorola. And so for a total of 5 summers as a high school student, I was, doing things that I never even thought was able to do. And so 3 years after graduating from college, I went on to become a systems engineer for General Dynamics. And that's the defense industry where we provided military vehicles to the U.S. Army and the Marines and U.S. allies.
Wow, fantastic.
And so as I was a student at Georgia Tech, 9/11 happened. And then 3 years later, I was actually working on military vehicles in Iraq.
Now, were you a military person or a civilian?
I was a civilian.
Okay. Okay, so you're a civilian working in military.
Correct.
And that's always an option as well. You don't always have to get that type of experience by joining the military. You can actually work in the military field without.
Absolutely. And it was such a delight to work along servicemen and ex-servicemen and veterans. I have those in my family, and so it was such a privilege to work with them every day. And that actually led me into a career in healthcare because I was receiving field problem reports on vehicles, and some of those were safety related. Some of our soldiers who were injured in military vehicles. And so I was always exposed to how it impacted humans. And so I used that as a career transitioning description to say, okay, I'm still interested in saving lives, but now I want to do it in a healthcare environment.
That's wonderful, just completely wonderful. So let's loop back to Nesby Jr. So you were a product and benefited from Nesby Jr. in Texas.
Yes.
And you also had mentioned along the way when we were talking earlier about inroads. So you
Yes.
started your internship as an inroads intern. And so folks must have counselors or people have introduced you to those things, much like this show is hoping to bring those type of programs to light. But the actual question is, locally here, there was a first year for a program, and your family actually benefited from it, right? Or you participated in it. Could you share what happened out at the Earl Brown Elementary School this spring?
Yes, last summer I had 2 children that were involved in the NASB Seek summer program. It was a 3-week program in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, sponsored by Cummins. And the children were exposed to different types of programming activities for 3 weeks for free. And it was such a great exposure to a national program that I was once involved in. And so when I recognized it was coming to Minnesota for the first time ever, I said, yes, this is something that I want my children to be exposed to and involved in at an early age.
Yes, it's those early development are important. Is there any feedback that your children have given you that you would like to highlight possibly? I know I'm putting you on the spot for some questions.
Yes, on the last day of the summer camp, my son said he was a project manager. So it gave the children the opportunity to do presentations to build their communication, written and verbal skills, as well as learn technical skills as well.
Absolutely. Now, can you share a little bit about what you saw there? Were there competitions? Did they have daily exercises? And then what was maybe for you as a parent, because I know there was a lot of college students that were local and that flew in, to run the camp during July. But was there any one thing that you would like to share with a parent of a young student, maybe in elementary school or early middle school, that you'd really want to make sure that they understand needs to happen?
I would definitely say make the sacrifice to get your children to these camps. They're offered free of charge, and it was great programming and activities that a lot of our children do not get exposure to until it's far too late. And this is only going to prepare them better for their careers and set them on the trajectory for a STEM career.
And a very successful and
And a
sustainable
successful
life.
and sustainable life.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you very much. I sure appreciate your time coming here this evening. I know that it's right after work hours, but we sure appreciate you coming, Porsche.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.